This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
So we're now on the official beginning of day 2, and we had a great show last night, and I'm going to talk with somebody a little bit later about some of the acts that were there, and we'll get into that because they did some close-up that was really good, and but I'm talking right now with somebody who just got in, actually late last night, and he's going to be one of the lecturers and performers, and you know him as Dan Sperry because that's his name. Hey, Dan.
Oh, boy, yep, hello.
And so you got here late because you were working on Masters of Illusion.
Yeah, I think this is the 11th season coming up, and listener exclusive. I didn't tell anybody this; they didn't know this. There's an Easter egg that reoccurs in every segment. I filmed 4 segments, and the same thing happens in every segment, but it's not like apparent. You know what I mean? I hit something.
Not where you come out and say magic.
No, I do that. I do that all the time. But this is something that's maybe not obvious. You got to look for it. That repeats. It's in this, I don't want to give too much away, but so you got to tune in.
For it, yeah.
You got to tune in to every episode of Masters of Illusion when they start releasing the next season, whenever that is, 6 months or whatever from now. And so you got to watch every episode to see if I'm in it, and then you got to watch it to see if you can put together the pattern of what I'm doing, even though the routines are different. You know.
Because, as some of you may know, they record a lot of segments with one person at one time, and then they spread it out over the season. And so this way you get a little bit of this guy in this episode, and then 2 weeks later you get a little bit more of that guy.
That's right. It's like a buffet. It's the Golden Corral. The Golden Corral of Magic series.
And I know you've been doing this a number of years, and when I was talking with Gay last year when I was out there for the filming and doing a little consulting, that she was saying, I absolutely love Dan Sperry. He's one of my favorites. So I know she thinks a lot of you.
Yeah, I've known Gay for a long time, and like going back to when I was like a young teenager and like Abbott's. I remember one time I had to give Gay, I don't know if she probably remembers, I had to give Gay a ride to the airport in Kalamazoo, and I'm like white knuckling it because like I got some piece of shit car, and I'm giving Gay Blackstone a ride. And then, the Kalamazoo airport's the size of like a 1-car garage, and I gotta, we're sitting there, nobody's there, so I'm like, I'm gonna get something to drink. So I just asked, like, Gay, you want something? I'm going to the shop, and like, I feel like, do I ask? I'm like 20. Like, I'm asking, like, should I be asking Gay Blackstone, royalty? I'm like, feeling like I'm around royalty. But yeah, so I've known Gay for a long time, and I appreciate everything she's done, as I think a lot of people should, regardless of your opinion of it, the opportunity she's given Magic, as well as, especially this season in particular. Well, I don't know. I wasn't on every day. I just was there one day. But some of the younger talent coming up that I've known of, but getting to see some of them have opportunities as well is great. Because some of the same people on every season, my God, your listeners know we've had enough of them. So we need some of these new younger.
I know
dudes.
She's always looking for new young acts all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you are one, please contact her.
That's right. Yeah. There's some new ones that were there filming that are, I think, are going to be nice and refreshing surprises to the viewers.
Well, that's going to be great. You said this is season 11, I think, that is coming. Is that right? It's
something like that, season whatever.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, and I agree. She just recently was the guest of honor at the Magic Texas, and rightfully so, because she's from Fort Worth originally, so she's a Texas girl and hadn't really been given an honor in her own home country, basically. And so this was a really nice way of doing it because it was a combined convention with the SAM and FISM, so we had like 600 or 700 people who were there. It depends who you talk to as to what the numbers are actually, but the point is it was a large convention. She finally got her due by being the guest of honor. And there was a tribute that a lot of guys and gals had given to her of saying, you meant so much to us and also to the Magic community, and you're absolutely right, Dan, as far as what she has given. She really is an inspiration, I think, to the community.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well-deserved, for sure. Anybody deserves it. She does. And, certainly in some ways, you could say maybe saved my mental well-being in some ways by calling me up and giving me opportunities again. I'm very thankful for.
Well, so you're here at this convention. This is the first time I'm guessing that you've probably been to Magic at the Beach convention.
No, I think I was here no, it was more than that. It was different. back then. I think this is where I first met Luke Dancy. No, wait, that was Scam. Do we talk about that? Are they the competition?
No, Scam is gone. That's gone.
Oh, so we can talk about them now. Okay. So, yeah, I think it was called Scam, but it's South Carolina still. I think it was actually here when they did. I don't remember.
In Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, because I was like... What was that? I was like in high school when they hired me to come out because I had to have my dad come with me.
Were you doing Doves back then?
I was. That's all I got hired for, and rightfully so. I had no business doing anything else. But yeah, that's where I first met Dave and Barefoot. And some of these guys out here, and Luke Dancy, legend himself.
Was Luke from out here?
Yeah,
I've known Luke for a long time. I didn't know he was a Myrtle Beach guy.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's
South
Myrtle
Carolina
Beach
guy
specifically, but yeah, it was somewhere out here. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool. So I'm happy to be back. I like Myrtle Beach. I know it kind of gets a bad rap, but it kind of reminds me of a weird cousin to the Dells or something like that. Because I grew up in Minnesota, so we had the Dells. I'm from rural Minnesota, by the way. I'm from the good part, so don't judge me. And so going up there, it kind of gives me that same vibe. I like it here. So when I got the opportunity to come here and Charles invited me, I said absolutely, happy to come.
Yeah, Charles performed his show for the public the other night, and it was just a packed house and very good, a great show. I've seen his show a couple times before, and you've known Charles for a long time, I guess, as well?
Yeah, I first met him. I don't know if he publicly shares this, but he was one of them weird singing robe dudes from the Caesar's Magical Empire days.
Right.
And I got hooked up, and my mom... I think it was Jason Byrne. Back in the day, I was out in Vegas, and I'd known Jason, long story, through Universal Studios and nonsense that doesn't matter. But I had hit him up, and he got us hooked up with the Empire. Me and my mom went, and Charles was our singer dude. And for the listeners...
At your table.
At the table, yeah. For the listeners, it was, this whole thing. You can look it up. There's tons of stories about the Empire, but they had these hosts, and God bless them, because I would have been just functioning alcoholic if I had that gig. So, God bless them, for what they did. And it was great.
Amazing lineup. When you look back at some of the talent, with Mike Amar and several others.
Well, yeah, and even some of the guys wandering around. Charles was one of the guys that was, the singing guy. But I understand. I think I remember hearing Chappie Brazil was one of those guys. Kind of the underground legends too that weren't necessarily on the marquee, but there was some heavy hitters in that sort of wandering character stuff, Charles being one of them. But anyways, I got my picture with him. So there's 12-year-old me, all gap-toothed and pimple-faced, smiling like an idiot next to Charles.
Nothing pierced at that time, I guess.
Nothing visible, but it's so when knowing Charles, seeing how he's gone on to do cool things himself, and now he's landed here and he's got a really cool theater, and venue, and he's obviously been able to make it work and helping take over the convention and opening up his space and getting stuff set up here with all the organizers too.
He's found a nice niche here.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a nice tourist area, and he's in the middle of it right here on the boardwalk, and it's a great tourist attraction, and families come out, and it's really Las Vegas in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, it feels cleaner though. It feels cleaner. Last time when I left Vegas, I think I stepped over a needle, and I've only stepped over bird poop here, so we're trading up.
Trading up, that's right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow perform and lecture. What are you going to be lecturing on, by the way?
I don't know.
You're just going to throw it together at the last?
Yeah, no. I don't really lecture, but when I used to do a lot of kid shows, I kind of have stuff that I came up with that I like to share because everybody can relate. Everybody's done shows for kids.
Wait. Dan Sperry on kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, that's a horrible soundbite. Let's try that again. On kid show material.
On kid show material. Yeah. Finish that sentence.
Right, that's all I need is for somebody to clip that and bury me. Yeah. Some weirdo.
Well, we're going to get together sometime while you're here and have a more lengthy episode, and we'll talk a lot more about the illusionists and your world travels and everything else, because you are an interesting dude, and I know a lot of people would like to know more about you, too.
Great, yeah, let's talk about other things.
We will do that. So stay tuned for a later episode. So in the meantime, that was Dan Sperry. This is Scotty out. Thank you, Dan. As I just mentioned when we were talking with Dan Sperry just a moment ago, we were saying that this is the beginning of the second day, and actually right now we had an excellent lecture this morning by Paul Stone, and then going on right now is one by Carl Hine, but I thought we'd kind of go through a little bit of some of the what happened last evening with the evening show, which was great, and that was a close-up show, and so I've got somebody here with me who I run into at conventions all the time, Michael Healy. Hey there, Michael.
Hi, Scott. I don't know who's stalking who. Either you're stalking me or I'm stalking you.
We do see each other a lot at these conventions.
Right. And we have dinner at Magi Fest.
Yep, that's right.
In Columbus with Harriet.
That's right. That's always a fun time. And that was a pretty good dinner there. What is that name of that place? Ruby's. Jack Ruby's? Or
I don't remember. It's German, in Germantown.
Oh, that was the... okay, sorry.
Come. If I had a multiple choice, I could pick it out, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's not Schultz's, but you're right. There was a German restaurant. We were sitting there at the bar.
We always seem to sit at the bar because we don't want to wait an hour for a table.
That's right, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. Well, I want to go over some of the acts that we had on then last night. And the show featured Chris Blackmore, and Paul Stone actually was the host of that, Jaffo, Carl Hine, and James Brandon. And we're going to talk a little bit about each of them then right now. As I recall, that Chris Blackmore was the one who had opened the show. And do you remember some of the things that he had done? Yeah,
he's a very sharp comedy magician. He mentioned that he performed a lot at Warren and Annabelle's in Lahaina. And maybe about 10 years ago, I got to go to Lahaina and Warren and Annabelle.
I never saw that. Was that great?
It was great. It was a dinner theater. You would have dinner and then go into a theater to watch magic. And I saw Dana Daniels and John Chirac, who performed here last year and lectured here at Magic at the Beach.
Yeah. Well, he did what I really liked about his presentation was just that, his comedy in his presentation. I mean, he really showed that he is a worker and knows how to handle the audience. He was doing a lot of improvisational stuff with people from the audience and everything. And the card effects and everything that he did with the ending. Was that a Bill and Lemon, or what did he end up with, a Bill and a...
yeah. It's a little bit of a blur, but I think you're right.
It was kind of a thing.
No, in the can of beans. Can of coffee beans.
That's right.
Right.
And then when he opened up, or somebody from the audience opened up the coffee beans, then they poured it out, and there was the signed $100 bill.
Right.
Yeah.
The Bill and Lemon was today at the competition.
That's right. There was the competition. That was another thing this morning. We did have the competition. We'll get to that here eventually then as well. But so he had, I thought, just a well-rounded routine. It was a good act. You can see why he was working there at Warren and Annabelle, because I know they were very selective as to what magicians that they had there. Several people had, I guess, tried to get on as a regular, and even though they're good magicians, the fellow who owned the place, Warren, I guess, was pretty selective, and he had the top guys.
Yes, yeah, and really sad that last year Warren and Annabelle's burned down, and I spoke to him after the show last night, and unfortunately there's no plan to rebuild it, so it's really sad. And a big loss in magic. It was a great place.
It really was. And next, who we have? There was...
I don't remember the
order.
I know Carl Hine was last.
Yeah.
It was either Jaffo or James Brandon.
James Brandon, I think, was next to last because he did a stage show.
Right.
And the rest of them were all on a table.
Right.
And they had camera so everybody could see in the big screens.
Right. You're going to have to jog my memory.
I didn't write down things either. It's kind of like I wish Mark D'Souza was here, so he's the one who always makes the copious notes.
Yeah, I told you I enjoyed listening to Mark because you and I were both at SAM, TAOM, Magic Texas.
Yeah.
And Mark did a really nice job
recapping
summarizing. He's got a great memory. But as you know, when you come, you see a lot of magic and a lot of magic performances. It's hard to recall every single thing.
That's a very good point, Michael, in which a lot of times it does start to become a blur, but what you remember, the things that stand out, is something that happens to be unique.
Right.
That, for an example, I remember Michael Blumenke, who was one of the winners.
Sure.
Because he had the robot arms.
Of course,
I mean, he could have done just the cups and balls, and he would have forgotten about it. Well, by using the robot arms in the comedy, we're talking about Magic Texas now.
Right. He was wonderful, and he got the biggest ovation, and I think he's a teenager. And
he was. I think he's older now. I think he's in the 20s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell. And, when they introduce, they don't tell you.
Yeah.
Luckily, they don't tell you age.
But the other guys, who were here, they were really good. Yeah, James Brandon, I remember, had done an excellent stage show. And I say stage show, I mean, he was on the stage, whereas the others, again, were down front and on the close-up table and everything.
And Charles Bach, who owns the theater here, he does a marvelous job with the tech. and whether you were on stage. And it was a close-up show, but the performers adapted close-up tricks. Some of them did it more as a parlor stage trick. Yeah. And also with Charles's technology, I think everybody got to see what the performers wanted you to see.
Well, that closed out last evening, and we were out about 9 o'clock, and so the dealers were open, and the dealers are across about 20 paces or so over here at Dave & Buster's. So you walk out the theater door, and we're actually standing outside here, and right now you can hear the music in the background here on the boardwalk. It is a tourist area, it's a tourist spot, but right now it's everyone's back in school, so it's not as busy. Plus, this is a Friday afternoon.
Right. I think the air conditioning got to my voice. I woke up this morning, and as you know, I competed this morning in the close-up competition, and
that was the first thing out of the shoot this morning was the competition. I can't believe how many people we had. We must have had 16 people there.
Sure, and there was at least one person who came like very late who wanted to join in, and unfortunately he wasn't able to join the bill, so to speak.
Well, one thing I thought was great about the competition was how they kept it tight. You had to have 5 minutes or less, and if you went 5 minutes or over, you were disqualified.
Sure. And I couldn't see the judges. Rumor is that you were one of the judges. I'm not sure. But
I was.
Luckily, I have an Apple Watch that I set for 5 minutes, so when my wrist started vibrating, I knew it was time to get the hell off the stage.
Yeah, as I recall, you had done the lottery prediction with the numbers, with a deck of 52 cards that were... Anyhow, can't tell you anything about it right now until everything is complete.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then we can discuss it later. And I think they're going to be announcing the winners this evening's show.
Tonight, the show, it's a comedy show, tonight at 7:30. At about 7:15, they're going to announce the winners. And I think, from what I understand, there's first, second, and third place for stage magic and first, second, third place for close-up magic.
Right. And then when we go upstairs and they're going to have a happy hour, or happy couple of hours, I guess, we'll have a chance to chat with people who want to get some feedback.
Sure. Up in what they usually call the Houdini Lounge.
Right.
And this is a beautiful venue here in Myrtle Beach at Broadway at the beach. And
we're not actually on the beach, but
but that's what they call it. I know we're
probably a couple miles from the beach, but still, it's very nice.
But the whole tourist place here is called Broadway at the beach.
Right. So, the next thing we had, by the way, was Paul Stone, who gave an excellent lecture. He's going to give 2 lectures.
Sure.
The one this morning was about Siegfried and Roy and his relationship with them and producing their show at the Palladium in London.
Right. I love Paul. I met him last year at Magic Live. I went to Las Vegas a few days early, and there was a tour, as you saw in his presentation this morning, the house, Jungle Palace. Which is where Siegfried and Roy lived in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And Paul gave a unique tour, and as you heard, some wealthy circus owner from Europe bought the house and spent a lot of money fixing it up. So I went on the tour of the house.
Just before Magic Live, as I recall.
Yeah, it was the day or two before. Right. The other thing they gave us last year was Penn and Teller tickets, Fool Us. But I enjoyed Paul and his relationship with Siegfried and Roy, and in the videos you saw this morning at his presentation, he was in touch with them and was a good friend of theirs.
Right. So that was a very good one.
Yeah.
And then right now, we just were watching some of Carl Hein. He started into some Rubik's Cube things, which you and I don't do. So I said, let's step outside and chat for a minute. But what about the rest of his lecture that he was doing? It looks great.
Well, the truth is, I love Rubik's Cube magic, but I've seen Carl many times, and unless he has something brand new relative to Rubik's Cube magic, I'm going to go back in and buy whatever he has, because I have a lot of Carl Hein's DVDs and stuff.
Yeah, and he did close out last night, and he was spectacular.
Yes. In fact, today at his lecture, he taught some of his effects from last night.
One of the things that kind of fooled me, and I was not expecting, he did the Heine 500.
Right.
And then he has a kicker at the end when they change to, like, $51
yes,
bills or something.
That was incredible. And
did he teach that? I missed that.
He teased it a little bit, and it's on one of his DVDs.
Okay.
But for magicians who are familiar with that trick, you're not expecting that at the end.
No,
and like you said, it was like $51 bills.
Right.
That came out of the 5 bills that he had, and I truthfully I don't know how he did it, but
that's got me.
I'm going to get that DVD.
And he had
too.
a running gag also in which he kept having a card in his hat.
Yes.
And then he would also produce a bottle of Heinz ketchup, and he did that 4 times.
Yes.
The ketchup.
Yes.
Yeah.
For regular. Not Norm Nielsen bottle ketchup. These were real
from the grocery store, plastic,
big
full
bottles of ketchup.
Yeah.
Yep. So
yeah, it was just again kind of a running thing that he had. So anyhow, that was overall a very good show. Then last night and the lectures we've had, and it has been pretty much nonstop. And the last night also we had the hoedown, had the
yes
barbecue dinner.
Yes, that was great. And the group that came and did the square dance. There was a whole square dance thing going on here last night outdoors. The weather's cooperating, and it was a lot of fun.
And because we had a lot of tourists walking by, they were kind of surrounding, saying, "What's going on over here?"
Yes,
and they had a guy, calling square dance.
Right. A lot of fun.
Something pretty kitschy.
Yep.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. Always good to catch up over here with you.
Scott, I'm a big fan, and keep up the good work.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
And I'll see you at the next convention.
We will.
and I am going to Italy next July.
Oh, for sure. See you there.
I'll stalk you there.
Okay.
All right.
Magic Word Podcast. That was Michael Healy. Scotty out. We were just talking about some of the performers who were working in last evening's show doing close-up, and I've got with me right now one of the performers who was there. It's Chris Blackmore. Hey there, Chris.
Well, hello, Scott. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, and it was a good show last night. It was a great way of kicking that off. And I mean, it was bookend by you and Carl Hine. It was just, I thought, a spectacular show last evening. So you did a great job.
Well, thank you very much. It was a fun audience. We all look forward to entertaining a room full of magicians.
That's the kind of comedy. That's the kind of funny guy.
But in reality, they were wonderful. They had their spouses with them. Those who are lucky enough in magic to have spouses, and they were a wonderful crowd. And it was an interesting setup because we were actually in the theater seats with the close-up table right up front, so it was very intimate. But my years at Warren and Annabelle's, that was the same feeling. So it was very intimate feeling.
I was going to ask you about that. Were some of the routines you were doing last night or was that your Warren and Annabelle act, or is a portion of it? Or
it was a portion of it. I used to do the $100 bill in the coffee can every night there. Maui Magic Joe, Volcano Fire Roasted Coffee. So, that was a lot of fun last night. Good group.
It was a lot of fun, and you've not been to this convention, I assume, before, have you? I mean, to the Magic of the Beach? Or?
This is my 3rd convention in my entire life.
What?
I'm sorry, my 4th convention. Cavalcade of Magic in
St. Louis?
No. Something
no.
19...
Little Rock, Arkansas.
No, this is when I was a kid. When I was 16 years old, I was in Hollywood. Cavalcade of Magic, I think it was. Back in the day, I went to One Magic Live. I performed it in Abbott's, and now I'm here. So...
Not a convention guy.
You know
what is that?
I'm busy. I work a lot. I work a lot, and I see a lot of magicians in real life, and nothing. I love conventions. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, so now that you are getting a little bit older and maybe start to slide into a little bit more of retirement and being a bit more selective since Warren and Annabelle's is closed and so you're doing jobs that you want to take, but we start attending more conventions?
Yeah, probably will. Just keep me out of the dealer's room. I spend too much money.
I did do more this year than I have anywhere else. So.
Yeah, if it looks like I can do it easily and it's a gimmicked item, I'm a sucker for it.
I'm in, huh?
Yeah.
Well, they do have a pretty good dealer's room over there where they have like a dozen dealers or something.
They have a dozen dealers. They have some great antique books, too, and some posters, and just a wonderful new collection of magic over there. Some that hasn't been released yet.
And that's true. I bought a couple of things. I said, well, I can't really sell these things officially yet, but I like it. And one thing I got was it was a hopping half variation of the key.
Oh, did you get that? Nice. It looked very nice. It's a key used for hopping halves. What a brilliant idea.
Basically, the shell is on the top of the key over there because I've been doing hopping halves for so long, and I have gone through, I'm into my third set right now because I went into my pocket and I'm using it, and I've got a good routine that I do with it, and so I'm going to be doing a similar routine. I'm just kind of playing with a pattern in my mind, but it's my go-to thing for strolling.
Well, and the key is so logical, too.
That's my point, is people don't carry around half dollars or silver dollars, and certainly they're not familiar with larger English pennies, which they don't even have, much anymore. But keys are things. That's what I'm saying. You're right. It's more organic, and it's in popular zeitgeist, basically.
Here, I'm going to do Dana Daniels' line. Keys. Yeah. Actually, that's Luigi's line. Keys.
It's a bird. It's a bird. So you'd worked with Dana for a long time, and you were telling me a little bit earlier that Warren had said because you and Dana you were so funny together, said you guys can't work together.
Yeah, he wanted a little more finger flinging in the show, and that's why he brought in John George and John Chirac, and of course they're just amazing performers, but their chops, their card handling and coin handling is through the world.
So you and Dana often just traded out, so you just kind of saw each other in passing, unfortunately.
We saw each other. Well, we waved each other over the Pacific Ocean as he'd be flying home, I'd be flying out. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So the convention is great. Now you're going to be doing something else, going to be giving a lecture or performing later? Again,
performing later, thank goodness. I was going to lecture, and then everyone realized I have nothing to lecture about, so let's just perform and have some fun, So, we're on stage. I get to host tonight, which is one of my favorite things to do is be an MC. Mm-hmm. I love being out there.
I'm with you. I love MC.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it. Oh. Well, you have to be there the whole show. Yeah, so what?
And you have to be present and knowing what's happening. And then because sometimes you have to kill a little time. And I don't like to use that expression of killing time. I want to do something that people are going to enjoy,
Right. And then the worst part of it, though, is when someone gives you 3 paragraphs and says, "Oh, this is my introduction. Please do it verbatim." No.
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 I'll get the gist of it. I don't like to read paper.
No, it's bullet points for me.
Yeah.
It has to all performing has to feel like it's in the moment and right now and
Yeah, again, like whenever I'm talking to people for a podcast, I don't have anything in front of me about their background. It's just I'm kind of going from what I know about a person, and because we work together or know each other or whatever. And with the same thing with when I'm working with someone on stage as an MC, I like to get an idea, something about them, even if I don't know them. Sure. I know a little bit about their background, enough to get across to the audience, because we don't need to say that you've won this award and that award, or you've appeared at the castle or whatever else. I mean, it sounds great for magicians, but for the corporate audience, they don't know what the castle is or whatever.
And the other thing you have to remember as an MC is your role is there to make everybody else look great.
That's right.
Even if an act doesn't go over so well, you've got to have the ability to rebound that audience from that and take them to the next level and make sure they're excited about the next entertainer. Your job is always, and it's not to compete, it's to be, a ringleader, and that's kind of what you are. Big John Strong Circus taught me this. Back in the day, we used to do a circus go around, and he taught me how to be a ringleader, and the ladies, and, the whole thing, gentlemen, and all that. And really, that's all you're doing on stage in a reduced, volume and just kind of less mannerisms, but you're the host, you're that ringleader for the show.
I think of an MC as being like a referee. Basically, you want to stay out of the way. You let the rest of the football players, the basketball, whatever the players play, and let them play, and you're kind of making sure that if something needs to happen because there's been an error or whatever, you're drawing attention to it, but you're not the star.
No.
You're just someone who's facilitating them to be the star.
And if you're good at it, you're remembered more than some of the acts.
That's true.
So it's really a good spot to get a lot of stage time in, too.
It's not just that. I like to do MC work for other companies, and I was doing something once in Vegas. It was for Commemorative Air Force, and there were a variety of speakers, and I was introducing each of the speakers. And some were interesting, some were entertaining, some were just complete flat boring, where people were falling asleep in the audience. And they were looking forward to me, I think, being the MC, because I would lighten up the group again and try to get the energy back in the room.
Sure, absolutely. Well, that's the role of an MC. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I love that as well. Well, Chris, great seeing you. I hope you're enjoying your time at your 4th convention here.
Yes.
The hospitality here at Myrtle Beach has just been great as far as what I've seen. I love the people here.
They're fantastic, and I got to see Charles Bach's show the night before the convention started. If you're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area at all, you must come to Charles Bach Wonders. It's a wonderful theater, a wonderful showroom, and if you haven't met Charles yet, you should, because he's a wonderful human being.
If he had the show in Las Vegas, he would be killing it, because it is a Las Vegas show, and I know he is like one of the top performers around, but also he knows how to choreograph, how to put the music together and everything. He's got a background and all that. It's just great, and I highly recommend it also. You need to come see the show.
The dancing, the lighting, the choreography, he's put so much work into this.
His assistants are great.
His assistants are fantastic, with enthusiasm through the roof. If you loved Doug Henning, you are going to fall in love with Charles Bach.
He has that enthusiastic, imp-like kind of
He has those qualities. He has those qualities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
Charles has put this thing together. It's been a vision of his for a while, and so he's done a great job, and bringing you and other people in here, too. So it's been a great convention. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. So
Thank you so much for taking time.
Thanks a lot. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that's Chris Blackmore. Scotty out. We talked also about the contest that they had this morning, and it was a little bit different kind of a contest in which you only had about 5 minutes, and I talked about that a little bit earlier with someone as well, and I've got one of the contestants who is here with me, Michael Barefoot, right now, who has his own show actually here in Myrtle Beach as well. Hey, Michael, how are you, man?
Glad to see you again, Scott. It's always good to see you.
Well. Always
Yes,
a
sir.
pleasure. Well, since you've been having your own show here in Myrtle Beach, I don't see you at conventions like I used to. It seems like I used to see you compete all around, like the IBM and every place.
Yes, sir. Last time we checked, I have 135 first place awards. I don't count seconds. So, yes, sir. Yeah, it was different this morning because you're competing against close-up and stage, and a close-up person, they can get past that wall a lot faster than a stage guy can. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing. You know, and some of the rules I didn't understand because it said contest. When I see S at the end, I think you got a stage and a close-up, but they were combined. It was just different, like 13 people. It was different.
It was different, yeah, and I kind of like that a little bit, particularly because we had so many people compete, which was another unique thing, because I'm finding when I go to conventions, there are fewer and fewer competitors, and the quality is lower and lower.
Yes,
and some conventions have decided we're just going to get rid of the conventions altogether because we're just not getting the quality. But here we had, 16 people or something?
I think, 13, 15, something like that. The only thing is, I think the contests are becoming more now to one-trick ponies. A guy really ain't doing a routine like they used to with different, like a middle, beginning, end. They're actually doing one routine, like Penn and Teller and those guys and America's Got Talent.
Oh, that's a good point.
They only that's what time. So, like when you see me compete, you know, you can tell that it has a flow that goes up and down because I have a little bit of time to do that. When they're doing a magic trick, they're doing that one trick. It's just a card trick all the way through. It's not really a coin thing to go into the cards that go into the ropes.
Right.
It's just one.
You think that's because people have shorter attention spans? It seems like we're seeing, like with TikTok and with a lot of things, that we're just doing a lot. Well, even they don't have record albums or CDs anymore. You can just buy the song that you want to hear without all the rest of that. It seems like that we want to hear sound bites. We just don't want to read the whole book. We want the cliff notes, basically.
I believe that's what the TV has done to it.
Well, it's a good point. That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah. The
Sound bites.
TV, so the TV's done that. In a real person, in real life, they still want to see the whole routine because they want to have the middle, beginning, and end.
Yeah.
But they're so used to seeing it on TV, they want to get right to that candy. I call it eye candy.
Yeah.
It's like standing up doing manipulation at a close-up table.
Right.
Same thing.
Right. Are you still doing some walk around or strolling
every
in
night,
any restaurants?
Every night, yes, sir. Every night.
Okay.
If I'm in town, I'll have a big show. I still do Angelo's.
That's right. You wrote me about that steakhouse you were working
you got to
at.
come there.
I would
26
love to.
years.
Okay.
26 years, that place.
Holy moly.
10 hours a week.
Yeah. Now, that has to be a pretty good venue for you from the standpoint of getting additional work and high-paid work, too.
So people say that, I've never used it that way, though. I don't pass out my card to everyone. Like a lot of magicians in my lecture that I give, they tell you to pass out a bunch of business cards. I don't do that. I try to do less as possible. I believe the less you work, the more money you make. It's like you doing 12 shows a year now. You're making more money now
Okay, yeah.
than you probably did back in the day when you were working 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that the less you work, the more money you make. I don't use it for that, really. But when I took the Dan Orleans thing for the trade show performers, I took his advice and started giving my cards out at the bar, and I'd go to the convention center, and I was getting booked like that. just like that, because then they see you go to their booth and you talk to them and give them your price.
Right.
They come back for next year. So it does really help that way if you can see that client again. But if you're just seeing them one time a year, it's hard.
Right. Well, that's true. And do you do a lot of trade shows out here then?
I do quite a few at the convention center, yes.
I was assuming that the Myrtle Beach has a convention center.
Yeah, we have one right down the road. It's only like maybe 4 minutes.
Because since this is a big tourist spot, I'm sure
golf capital of the world is what they say.
Yeah. That's what I heard. There are so many different golf courses here. Actually, they've overbuilt, I guess, and they had to subdivide, and they've made them into residential communities.
That's why I play putt-putt. So many golf courses. Yeah, the Chinese.
I've heard that Gilligan's Island putt-putt is supposed to be really good.
It is good. They got Tiger Woods over here. Have you seen that one?
No, I'm not seen that one.
It's expensive. I mean, it's like $30-$40 to play putt-putt.
Wow,
right over here on the other side of Broadway.
Yeah.
So if you get time, just go look at it. The greens are big. It's pretty.
Wow, that sounds interesting. Now, you've been coming to this for a long time. Of course, you reside here as well, but I assume you go back to the Scam conventions
when
as
they do have it. They don't have the Scam anymore.
I know the Scam.
Yeah, I like that place. John Tudor did a great job there. Mm-hmm. John Tudor and all his people from the ring, the Columbia ring, they all did great. I miss those guys,
And so that kind of went away, and then this more or less took its place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
What year did they start this? Because it seems like there was a hiatus for a while.
Yeah.
And then Charles picked this up.
He got it back. He picked it back up after Dave and Roman stopped doing it for a while. Mm-hmm. I think Charles got permission to use the name, and that's why it happened.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good thing that he did that, especially because he has a great theater and he has a great show.
Yeah.
He has a great show. That's why you can see my show and see his show. They're totally different. I try to be funny and do manipulation.
He's got a lot of song and dance.
He's a dancer, man. He can dance. He looks good.
And I like the location of this, obviously, right here on the avenue where we've got the boardwalk. It's very nice, right across from Dave & Buster's. Where you got the dealers that are set up over inside there. And as a dealer, you were a dealer over there then, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to get rid of some junk. Yes, sir.
There you go. So do you find that it's handy for you and good as far as...
Well, I did really, really, really great down in Daytona. They have a good convention down there, too. Daytona Beach Magic.
Yeah, that Harry puts on.
Yeah, it's canceled this year. Cause,
it was?
Yeah, because the head guy, Dan, his wife don't feel well. She has an operation that week.
You don't mean Dan Stapleton?
No, Dan, the man who actually owns
Daytona Magic.
Yeah,
you mean that?
Yeah,
Harry. That's right. Harry sold that.
Yeah, his wife's kind of sick, and so they had an operation this week of it. Because last year I left this and went straight to the other one.
I was thinking, well, that's right, because that was in November.
I think it's like 3 weeks of difference, or it's 3 or 4 weeks difference.
Yeah.
So I left there and went there,
but this was at a different time last year,
yes,
I think. Yeah, because it was during Bike Week. I remember. Which is not going on right now.
I got my bikes at home if you go to ride them. I got four of them, so you can ride them.
So I know you're competing, and there's something that you've seen at this convention that's been outstanding or a highlight for you. I know you've kind of seen it from different sides. You've been on stage and doing the contest as well as being in the dealer's room, but you've also been sitting and watching some of the lectures and seeing the evening shows. Something that stands out to you that you like about this year so far?
I love Charles with the Audio 8. I've been using his Audio 8
Peacock. Now we're talking about different Charles.
Different Charles, sorry, yeah. The S Corporation, that's right. He just said that. Yeah, I've been using his stuff for like 12 years now. Mm-hmm. I've always had remote stuff. I used to use IQ. And then when he came out with his Audio 8, I went to that. And he's a great guy. He was very...
Well, you show cues for a long time. There was Carl Andrews and Sean Popp had put together. And I am a strong proponent of saying that you should add sound to your shows.
Yes, sir.
And even if you're doing a small show of only 15 people, it adds so much.
They give you respect before you start.
There you go. Exactly. But the things that they do, of course, with the Audio Ape is you have the ability to also work with your lighting and as
it saved me so much money. It's like when I do shows in Vegas, I'll be at Wonderground next month. I'll be there the 24th, October 24th.
I didn't know it was still in operation. So,
I think Jeff sold it to somebody, and Jeff's going to be there that night. But I think he sold it to. I can't remember the guy. That's bad.
It's still once a month, though.
Yeah, it's still once a month. It's on the 3rd or 4th Thursday, so it's the 24th of October. I'll be down there. But it saves so much money by having Audio 8. I don't have to, when I go to the clubs down here, I don't have to pay their sound guy to sit in there. And they
that's a good point.
I save a lot of money with Audio 8.
And I like also it has a good distance that you can be pretty far away. Yeah.
It goes through walls.
It's strong.
It goes through walls, everything else. Yes, sir.
And it has what he was talking about, the hopping frequency. So this way
it keeps hitting it. Yeah, it hops around, so it sends it and sends it and sends it. And so if somebody else is on the same frequency, it'll still go through.
I've had that problem with some of my sound systems before, and when I've had a microphone, and I've been, particularly during a holiday party, and I'm in a hotel where they've got 3 or 4 different banquet rooms, and there are other things going on. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're a professional. You know all about that. I had that trouble a lot when I used the old airline Samson Airline.
Yeah.
That was the worst one for me. So now they got it where it don't do that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's good to have.
That's difficult. Well, anyhow, good talking to you, Michael.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Congratulations
So it's
on
good to see you.
You're doing your show. Continue. What number of year is this for your theater?
Sixth or seventh. I don't even remember.
And you do that one night a week over there?
Right now it's every Thursday at 7 p.m. And if you're a magician and come into town, just tell me and I will let you come in free. I'm that kind of guy. Your spouse has to pay, but I'll let you in free.
What is the name of the theater?
GTS. Got the shows. GTS. But if you go to my website, very easy to remember, www.123magicshow.com. It'll tell you where I'm at. And then I hook you up for free.
Easy to remember. Michael, thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
The Magic Word Podcast. That's Michael Barefoot. Scotty out. We are just taking a break from the show. We just had a lecture by Paul Stone, who was talking about who was the
He was talking about Ken Brook.
Yes, Ken Brook. Yes, as the magic dealer, and also he had a lot of good stories about him and Fred Capps and Hans Moretti and Helga. It was just a great afternoon filled with lots of stories, as only Paul can tell them, because he was intimately involved with the production of a lot of these shows. And it was really, I thought, just a fantastic lecture. And he showed a video then also of Paul Daniels doing a routine with Dame Shirley Bassey years ago when he was on her television show, when he was kind of just getting started. Anyhow, it's I thought, a very good lecture. Paul Stone did a great job, I think, of that. And so now we are taking our dinner break, and I'm enjoying a bite here with my friend and yours, the author of the semi-automatic card tricks, among many others, Mr. Steve Beam. Hey there, Steve.
Hi, Scott. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Long introduction there, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah. I think Shane Paul's not here for that one. Yeah.
I think now you're ready for dessert after all that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You already ate dinner and you're ready for dessert.
There you go.
So this is a convention you've been coming to for a long time. I assume you used to go to SCAM years ago.
Used to go to SCAM for 10, 15 years, however long it ran, because it was in Columbia and I lived in Columbia. And then I kept coming down from Raleigh to attend that. And they stopped doing both conventions for a while, and then they started it back up last year. And I got a call last year, and they asked if I would work it. So I came here and worked it, and I had such a good time, I came back just to attend this year.
Hang out.
Yeah, it was great.
It was so much fun last year. I mean, that really knocked it out of the park. It was the first time Charles Bach had taken that over, and they had a good lineup. And it was hard to try to put lightning in a bottle again here for this year, but I think they've done a pretty good job. I've enjoyed the lectures they've had. They've got a good lineup of people. They have a little bit fewer than 100 registrants here, which makes it nice, tight, and intimate, and I like that.
I think what's amazing about this convention is there really is, they do the commercial about something for everybody, but here, it doesn't matter. If you do close-up, you've got top-of-the-line close-up guys. If you do platform, you got top-of-the-line platform guys. And, they even had a couple of kid show lectures that I attended the kid show lectures, and they were good. So, and if I'm saying they're good, then they were good, because I'm not a kid show guy.
Well, Dave Risley was the fellow, I understand, and I didn't get to see that because I was talking with somebody else, I think, doing an episode for an upcoming podcast.
Dave is great.
I'm not a kid show, but you liked it, huh?
I've known Dave for pushing 40 years. No, in fact, I've known him for longer than that. I think he booked first time I met him, he booked me for a lecture in 1980 in Wilmington. And then again in 83, I think it was. And so North Carolina, that's where he's from. And so I've known him, for 40-plus years now. Always impressed. And the first guy I saw do kid show magic that wasn't your typical, here's the square circle, now we do stratospheres, and now we do whatever. He was the first guy who I thought, really made kid show entertaining. And I thought to myself that having seen that difference, and then later Silly Billy, David Kay, the fact that I thought kids show magic had come further, than card magic had in a shorter period of time. I mean, card magic was kind of stymied a little bit in the 80s. We were all doing moves and focusing on that, and they were doing kid show performers, it seemed to me, were doing everything except focusing on the entertainment.
Right.
It was just pushing boxes around. And all of them, one kid show looked like another, for the most part, at least all the ones I was seeing. And then I saw Dave, and then later, David and a few others, and I thought, wow, if card magic can take off and go at this speed, we'd all benefit.
Was he doing school show assemblies or something, or was it birthday parties that you?
Talking about Dave Risley?
Dave Risley now.
No,
yes.
he was doing a little bit of everything because he started to do it for a living full time, and he was doing mostly daycares.
Oh. And that's what I understand. He talked a lot about how that you don't get a lot of money, but you can do a lot of them.
Yeah, and he did. I think he said I think the number was 18,000 that he did by the time he retired. Yeah, he said I'm an okay magician, but I'm a great bookkeeper. And he said I kept track of all the shows I did, and that when I retired in 2017, I had done 18,000 shows, and I think that's the right number. And I just thought, like I said, I could sit and watch him and enjoy him doing a kid's show. Yeah. And one of the things he does that he started doing 40 years ago is when he started lecturing on it, he would make sure that you had kids there in the audience of the lecture. Because without kids, you would enjoy it, but you're not going to get the laughter, you're not going to get their responses, and their responses are different than an adult response would be. So anyway, like I said, I think he was a turning point for me in my opinion of kid show workers. And having done some myself and decided, I can get combat. If I want combat pay, I'll go overseas and fight,
Yeah, rather than fighting the kids.
Right,
boy, I know
exactly,
what you mean.
exactly. But anyway, I just think Charles, Dave Tanner, and I think
Chuck Peacock gave a talk about audio aid today, which was interesting.
Yeah, that I didn't see, but I was going to say the three of them, Jerry too, the three people who do all the work, I think, for this have just done a tremendous job. At
Jerry
sure
Thompson,
that,
Dave Tanner, and Charles Peacock.
Yeah,
great job.
If you like magic, you got to come here because there's something here you're going to enjoy.
Yeah. And they're going to be having, I'm sure, again then next year. I'd made some suggestions as to potential lineup, and so I just know that Charles always tries to improve and do a better job from year after year.
Biggest improvement this year, and last year was great too, but this year they added rake seating.
Yes.
So to me, that's a huge improvement because you can see everything.
Yeah,
and
you're not on the floor looking up at the stage. Here you have a rake. It's like a legitimate Las Vegas theater now.
Yeah, and he has control of the building. It's his building where he puts on shows on a regular basis. So to have that access, to have that control, and you're not at the mercy of some hotel saying, well, we need to get you guys out of here at a certain time.
Right. Yeah, and if anything, I was here the night before. You did have to kind of get out. I would watch his full evening show, and before that, actually, Charles Peacock had done his juggling routine, so he did his act, and then after people left, then Charles did his, and then later at 9 o'clock, they had the hypnotist come in.
Wow.
So he's got a pretty full thing that he has. I guess the hypnotist is a friend of his who he knew from Las Vegas, who he said, why don't you come out and try this? And he did, and he's been here for 3 years with the residents.
Oh, that's great.
So it's been working out.
Well, that's how he booked the show, booked the convention last year.
Buddies.
Yeah, that's what Dave Tanner. I've known Dave forever, and apparently Dave recommended me to him. And I got a call and said, well, we're getting our friends down here to have a convention. And usually that means they don't pay you, but that was not the case here, so good for them.
Yeah.
They run it professionally. They do a great job.
They do, and that was the thing I was telling Charles before. It's hard to try to create lightning again because last year it was just a perfect storm where you had Kerry Pollack and you had Eric Buss and John Chirac and Greg Fruin and Steve Beam was there also. I'd forgotten who, but many of these guys he had worked with either on cruise ships or worked with them at Caesar's Magic Empire in Vegas, and these were all friends who liked to work together. And what I was saying is I thought the shows were great because I felt as if that each of them hadn't seen each other in a while, and they were just having a great time jamming together. And also it's kind of like as I'm performing, I'm going to be performing for you because you're my friend in the audience. I want you to see what I can do. It's kind of like I'm trying to impress you, and I'm still, after all these years we've been apart. So I felt like that they were doing, each of the performers were performing for their buddies in the audience rather than the rest of the audience. It still gave it that intimate feel, but they really, I felt like, hit it out of the park there last year.
You also had the back and forth, the camaraderie with people you've worked with before, and you're talking trash behind the scenes and stuff like that, and it makes it more fun for the performers. And also, I think the audience senses that the performers get along with each other, and they're all there having fun, and that's the name of the game. So, and
the location, I think, is fine. We've talked about this in this podcast yesterday and today, as far as you just mentioned, and Steve, is the theater, but also being on the boardwalk right here. You have, seems like, unlimited choices as far as whatever kind of food you want, and ice cream, or and games or things to play, and the Ferris wheel, and they got boat rides, and I don't know what all. I mean, you can walk for miles around here.
And if you've got a family that's young enough, you could bring the family and drop them off at the beach or drop them off wherever, because there's all kinds of things to do.
And there are plenty of hotels and everything around. I came last year early and played golf actually with Rome and Dupree. So anyhow, it's a great vacation spot. The only issue as far as bringing families out here is that school's already started. That's one of the reasons I think that they have it now, is because it's kind of the off tourist season.
Right. Well, that's probably right. So okay, you leave the kids at home, you give them a key to the house.
There you go.
You know, you map to the school, and you come on down here, have a good weekend, and then go back and
hope for the
track
best.
them down. Well, track them down. Yeah.
So where do you go from here? As far as your next convention is going to be NEMCA, we were just talking about?
Actually, my next convention is going to be next month. That's Escorial over in Spain.
That's not really a convention. That's like an invitation-only thing, isn't it?
It is, but it's very, very small. It's usually about 40 guys.
Oh, I didn't know it was that large.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's some years it's 30, some years
I thought
it's
it was
40.
only like 6 or 8 guys.
Oh, no. It's about 40
like
guys.
you and Gary Plants. And
No, I used to be for a while. I was for a few years. I was the only American that came, which was interesting. And my Spanish isn't great, but I work on it. But no, it's a wonderful. Madrid, I think, is one of the most magic cities in the world, and it's held outside of Madrid, about 40 miles away. But you take it's a train ride.
So it's not at Juan Tamers' house. It's actually at a.
It's actually at a small hotel in El Escorial. That's the name of the town, and it's a mountain town.
I thought Escorial meant school.
Like I said, my Spanish is not that good. Escuela, I think is school.
Yeah.
But
Escorial versus Escuela. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's El Escorial. It's San Lorenzo El Escorial. There may be a few more words in there too, but that's the whole name of the place. That's where we go. Take a train there. We show up on Friday, and then you have Friday evening all the way through till about Saturday morning at about 5 a.m. Then Saturday it starts Saturday evening again till Sunday morning about 5 a.m. But that's the main conference, but then everybody's getting together in Madrid before and after, and every night there's something to do magic related. It really is. It's a blast. It's one of the coolest conventions I go to. After that, usually, I'm alternating now between Tricks and Charlotte, Scott Robinson's convention, which I love. I've been to 14 in a row. And then this year I'm doing NIMCA, which is up in New Hampshire.
Yeah, Nashua.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much where I'm going to be for the rest of the year.
Are you going to FISM next year in Turin?
Yes, okay. I am.
Are you going to go early, stay late, or both sides? Or?
Always.
Okay.
Always. Once you pay for the flight,
right? It
really is your marginal cost is the room and the food, and I'm going to pay for the food where I am anyway in the States. So I figure, and I love Rome. I spent a week last time in Rome. I love archaeology, and that what better place to kind of get a sense of that than Rome. So maybe Egypt, but
I would suggest another place which will come to me in just a minute, but it's right outside of Rome, and it's a few miles away, it's called Tivoli, and Tivoli is where the Romans started working on their irrigation, or I'm going to try to say their
aqueducts.
Their aqueducts and things, but also about how, like the plumbing. I mean, all the fountains are natural, and there are no motorized fountains that are electric.
All gravity driven.
It's all gravity driven.
Awesome.
And, I mean, it's an engineer's dream. I mean, it's really something that, as an engineer or someone who would be interested in that, just to see how this whole place works.
No, I would love
it's called
to.
Tivoli. It's worth going outside of Rome to see it.
Yeah, we did Pompeii last time. Giancarlo Scalia, who's lived in Naples, grew up in Naples, he met me in Rome, and I just met him literally that day, and he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Tomorrow I'm going to Pompeii." And it's a couple-hour train ride, and thank God he went with me because, I speak no Italian.
Yeah.
And he pointed out the pickpockets that were on the train, that were in the train station everywhere. It was a fascinating experience. But then we went to Pompeii, climbed Vesuvius, and had a blast. So anyway, I love the side trips, and that really puts magic in the trip.
No pun intended. Went up to Pompeii and had a blast.
Yeah, well, I've been buried in magic the previous days, so you can understand.
Okay, so it all ties in.
Yeah, there you go. But and you talk about the Romans. I made a trip to Segovia in Spain, where they have a beautifully intact aqueduct that goes right through downtown, and it must be 5-6 stories tall. And you can't imagine that was done 2,000 years ago, carrying water from, miles and miles away.
Right. Centuries.
Stunning. I mean, I look at those things and I say, I couldn't build them today, even with all the equipment. I don't have the knowledge to build them today, and they were doing it back then with no equipment and just, I guess free labor.
That's true, too.
The downside of the story,
To close this out, I wanted just to talk briefly about
our travel log.
The book you were... That's right. That's a Steve Beam and Scott Wells travel log. So you are working on another book, which is going to be a compilation of some of your tricks that from your other hand-picked tricks, basically.
Yeah, basically two things. I started doing 4-of-a-kind productions a long time ago. I'm working on 2 books. One book is a book that it's almost all written. It's probably not going to be released for a while, but it's all my 4-of-a-kind productions from day one. Because they've been out of print for 30 and 40 years, many of them, and they're still being asked, about by magicians, and in some cases being performed by magicians. So I thought, it's more of I want to put them all in one place and have it available. That's one. The other thing I'm working on, which is the passion project, which has me working literally some 12-hour days, and that is, I'm taking the principles of card magic, and I am breaking them apart. I'm cataloging them as a magician, not a mathematician. The mathematical type principles, which you guys go ahead and take a nap now while I talk about it. But it's principles like Gilbert's principle and things like that are fascinating.
Is that what you lectured on at Tricks last year? I think you were talking about the 9 card.
Actually,
15 card.
Actually, I did it with the 14-15 principle.
14-15,
yeah, because
I found that fascinating. But you can go deep in the woods easily and quickly on that.
Yes, you can, and I did a whole book on that, as you remember, Smokers. Yeah. But what I'm doing is more of not a whole book on each thing, but I cataloged about 70 some odd principles so far. And I have tricks that are unpublished with those, and they're not average tricks. They're really top-of-the-line tricks. And so I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to do. In one book, I'll do the principles and explain the principles. And in the other book, I'll have the original new tricks that go with those principles. So if you're interested in knowing how they're done, you can have a discussion. You can hear about the history. You can hear about, who discovered the principle, but also, and here are common uses. Here are simple examples. And finally, here are the tricks that you would go to in the other volume or in the back of the book, whichever way I do it, to actually perform tricks with this. And they're fully, they're performable tricks. They're not done there.
Commercial tricks.
Yeah, they're not tricks that I took just because I needed a trick for the principle. I have done that with one principle because I think the principle needs to be it's called the Pierce principle. I did come up with a trick for that, and I discarded about 10 tricks with it because I just, I was thinking I'd just leave that principle out, and finally I came up with a trick, and I go, wait a minute, I like this, and I would do it, and it's funny, and it's humorous, so it's my thing, so it's going in there as well. So anyway, it's 70 different principles and the card tricks that go with them.
So we can look forward to that in about 2 years?
Yeah, it won't be this year, that's for sure. And it'll either be late next year or the following year before it gets finished.
There we go. Steve, thanks very much. Always good catching up with you.
I love running into you at these things, Scott.
Fun. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Steve Beam. Scotty out.
Okay.